2016. Good evening and welcome to Bottomline East Africa. My name is James Smart. Let's get to it. We start with scorecard in Kenya. Cabinet secretaries have begun an inter-ministerial symposium taking score of the achievements over the past 3 years. The 4-day symposium will act as the prelude to the State of the Nation address by President Uhuru Kenyatta later in the month, and will review the achievements and challenges that the Jubilee administration Foreign Affairs Permanent Secretary Monica Juma said Kenya had made tremendous progress on regional and international cooperation.
We are in a global world where 193 countries are pursuing their interest in a global arena that is increasingly becoming competitive. And so the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade manages our interaction with that global world, and we seek to pursue, to promote, and to protect our national interests. We do this in order to contribute to a peaceful, prosperous, and globally competitive Kenya in the global arena. We have supporting and we continue to support Kenyans to get positions in international organizations. You probably know that the head of UNCTAD is a Kenyan, Dr. Mukisa Kitunyi. We have a Kenyan heading the International Telecommunications Union. We have a Kenya that is in the Commonwealth Secretariat as the Deputy Secretary General. We have a Kenyan as the Executive Director of the Great Lakes Initiative. We have an Executive Director of IGAD and a Secretary General of the Indian Ocean Rim. Again, the idea is really to increase our footprint and provide leadership across the world. At the multilateral level, the profile of Kenya continues globally. In fact, Nairobi is becoming the city of choice for international engagement and international diplomacy. You will all remember that we have hosted and cohered the global agenda to create the United Nations Environmental Assembly in 2014. We hosted UN Habitat. We have been the first country on the continent to host the WTO Ministerial Conference in 2015 December. We are preparing for the Tokyo International Conference on Africa that will converge Japan and the continent in this town. We are preparing for UNCTAD that is coming on in July of this year. We have hosted a regional summit on countering violent extremism in this town, basically putting us on the map of leadership as far as counterterrorism and combating radicalism is concerned. We've been elected to the chair of the UN Peacebuilding Commission. More recently, within the African continent, we have returned to the AU Peace and Security Council because of our leadership in this area, both regionally and internationally. We continue to lobby significantly for the UN reforms so that this international body can represent the democratic values of our time. We have continued to engage in order to enhance the inclusion and participation of Kenyans that are living in diaspora in the development of our nation, as provided for in our constitution and as is their right as Kenyans. In doing this, you will know that today the remittances from Kenyans has grown significantly. Significantly. It is one of the main revenue resources in terms of developing our nation. And in order to institutionalize that, to make sure that the cost of remittances comes down, to make sure that we can leverage remittances for development, we have moved forward to lobby and to host the African Institute of Remittances, because this has become a big stream in terms of the development agenda. Since our engagement in Somalia, we have become a game changer, whether it is in terms of negotiating for the processes there, or whether it is in terms of AMISOM, our contribution to AMISOM. You will know our engagement in South Sudan has brought the combatants together. There is a cessation of hostility, there is a government of national unity, and that has basically reduced the risk in a very, very fragile environment. And finally, you will know that we have continued to offer our services in various institutions and structures in order to contribute to peace diplomacy, because we believe that we must stabilize this region in order to enjoy the benefit of our deepening democratization and aspirations for growth.
Now, Uganda's Foreign Affairs Minister Okello Oryem has spoken out on the Migingo Island controversy that is causing diplomatic tension between Kenya and Uganda. Minister Oryem downgraded the Migingo problem as a small issue that should not be escalated by Kenyan officials. He is, however, optimistic that the two countries will find a peaceful settlement to the Migingo question. Last week, a section of Kenyan MPs threatened to have their matter referred to the United Nations for arbitration. Solomon Serwanja reports from Kampala.
The controversy of Migingo Island has returned to haunt the relationship between Uganda and Kenya. While you may consider it just a piece of rock of 2,000 square meters, which is about half the size of a football pitch floating on Lake Victoria, both Kampala and Nairobi are still contending as who owns it. Already tension is brewing in Kenya as legislators bring to table new allegations of Ugandan security forces crossing the line and committing crime.
You will know that in the constituency of Bondo, over the last few years, or so many years really, at night, Ugandan soldiers come by boat, raid shops, it used to be they were only interested in cigarettes. As they became more corrupt, the speaker, they started taking monies and robbing people on the street. And because they are armed, we have no way to guard ourselves against them.
While debating in Parliament earlier this week, some legislators submitted that Uganda government officials even cross over to other islands to torment Kenyans.
Action as a country has made the Ugandan government even braver, that they are going beyond Migingo to other islands. Mr. Speaker, no week passes that I don't get a call from residents of Remba Island in my constituency that are being harassed by Ugandans. They are arrested, they are taken to Uganda, all their fish is taken, they are made to pay fines from Uganda, and they pay taxes to Uganda, Mr. Speaker.
The legislators also raised that even though the issue of Migingo Island has been brought to the attention of the Kenyan government officials, the Uhuru government has given the matter a deaf ear.
We must address this issue. We must deal with this issue of Migingo once and for all. And what is disturbing, while it has been happening and going on like this, our government is quiet about it, particularly in the recent past. Nothing, no statement, nobody has said a thing from the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Nothing has said a thing from the Minister of Interior. It is just quiet. We want to pretend that nothing is happening, Mr. Speaker.
While this is a big subject of debate in Nairobi, the Uganda officials are saying it is no big deal. In a phone interview with KTN News, Uganda's Foreign Affairs Minister Okello Oryem described the Migingo Island controversy as being trivialized undeservedly.
I think the members of parliament should talk to the officials in the government of Kenya and in the right ministry, so that the right ministry informs them of the developments that how far we have reached, so that there is no warmongering on this issue.
Minister Oryem, however, said that the matter is being handled by Ugandan authorities.
Well, I think that the issue of Migingo Island is something that we hope we can be finished soon. What has happened, the final position on Migingo Island was that there was a joint verification committee that was set up by the two countries of Kenya and Uganda. The joint verification committee was supposed to be composed of officials from the Ministry of Lands, composed of surveyors, and other technical officials both from Kenya and Uganda, and who are supposed to have started the process of remarking the borders between the two countries. Not only the Migingo Island, but the complete remarking of the borders between the two countries. There seems to have been some delay on that process for some unknown reason, but I don't think that should be grounds for escalation in the relationship with the two countries.
While Minister Oryem maintains that it is a small anthill turned into a mountain, Kenyan members of parliament want to take the matter to the United Nations for arbitration.
Well, it is very unfortunate. Why the rush to the why the rush to the UN? We are neighboring countries within the Eastern community. We're neighboring countries within the Northern Corridor Integration Project. We're neighbors not
Their counterparts in Uganda are calling for the immediate intervention of the Museveni government into the matter.
First of all, the two countries have the capacity to solve that. If it fails, then the East African community can come in. But on the other hand, I find it a little bit ridiculous that at this time when you are talking about East African integration, we are still fighting over pieces of rock. I think we should be looking at the bigger picture, and it should not take all that long. Since we are looking at integration really.
So I think the trade, the fishing, how it should be regulated within the protocol, within the East African common market arrangement. I think it's a lot of redundancy to make it a very big issue.
The Migingo Island controversy dates back to 2008, when the island was claimed by both Kenya and Uganda. However, in July 2009, a survey team comprising of both teams from Uganda and Kenya found that the island is 510 meters east of the Kenya-Uganda border within the waters of Lake Victoria. However, the Ugandan protests revolve around the lucrative fishing rights, mostly for the valuable Nile perch, and the Ugandan waters, which come within about 510 meters of the island. Solomon Serwanja, KTN News, Kampala, Uganda.
All right, and shortly we'll be talking to Solomon Serwanja on exactly what this means. But for now, though, let's look at the timeline of this, the island issue that has dogged Kenya and Uganda. Now, in 2008, May 2009, the island was claimed by both Kenya and Uganda. July 2009, the survey team that Solomon was talking about that found the island is 510 meters east of the Kenya-Uganda border. This issue has been on since 2002, really. In a bid to eliminate pirates, Uganda got in there, where pirates were both terrorizing both Ugandan and indeed Kenyan fishermen. Now, the tension followed between Kenya and Uganda years later in 2008 after Kenyan fishermen were barred from fishing in the waters. Now, President Yoweri Museveni then fueled the tensions in between the two governments after he claimed that the water bordering the island is Uganda while the land itself is in Kenya. And July 2009, Uganda stated that Migingo was Kenyan, but the waters were in Uganda. That is what President Museveni did say then. That's around 2009. Then the Kenyan President Mwai Kibaki, however, sought to create calm in the country by reassuring Kenyans that Migingo is in Kenya, despite Uganda security officers having set camp in the island. That followed President Yoweri Museveni's assertions that the waters were indeed in Uganda, but the island itself was in Kenya. Now, much of, not most of the Ugandan protests revolve around the lucrative fishing rights, if you like. Earlier on this week, we saw Migori Deputy County Commissioner in charge of Nyatike Sub-County, that is James Namlata, stating that he had spoken to Ugandan authorities and reminded them that Migingo is a gazetted polling station in Kenya. The protracted diplomacy, though, that's in 2009, Uganda did withdraw its military troops and agreed to withdraw its police officers, from what James Namtala, that's the Nyatike Sub-County Commissioner, saying that we should remember that, in fact, Migingo is indeed registered gazetted polling center in Kenya. Now, the protracted diplomatic tussle between Kenya and Uganda over the controversy Migingo Island resurfaced a week ago after Uganda forces arrested IEBC clerks and confiscated their biometric voter registration BVR kits. That happened last week, and Migori County Governor Okoth Obado has told President Yoweri Museveni to indeed keep off Migingo Island and allow the voter registration exercise to, in fact, go on. And now I'm joined by Solomon Serwanja. Solomon, good evening.